and I have a guest and friend in studio. I got AJ with Hippie Fertilizing. I'm going to kick this on the FM. We're going to have some fun. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name is Gardy, and I have AJ with Hippie Fertilizing here in studio, where we're going to be sharing some good information. It's going to help you out in this season of your life and this season in the world. So, AJ, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, doing great. It's a little surprised this morning to see it was wet outside. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But so happy we got some top dressing going on, got our fertilizing going on, so nature's helping us water it in.
Yeah.
That's
what it's all about, huh?
Absolutely,
Working one with
man.
nature.
Working with nature, right? Trying to get stuff down and watered in before it rains, okay? We might have a very wet season. Something I want people to take notes on is on every single bag of fertilizer out there. Whether it's organic, synthetic, whatever, it says, do not put down right before rain, okay? Because we don't want to get runoff, right? We want to reduce that as much as possible. Water it in well before heavy rain comes in, because, we don't want it going out into the creek, the bay, our local waterways, stuff like that.
The runoff, that's why, if there's a subdivision, it has like a pond or a lake, and it's built around it, and it's retention, but it also is nice, and there's fish. That's why we can't eat that fish, because all the fertilizer and everything runs off into there, right?
I know that attributes to it for sure, right? And, there's a lot of, pesticide use that gets in that stuff. I would be curious. Maybe we should, get the water tested.
We could do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I know you got some of those over in Hidden Lakes, right? They got plenty of that kind of stuff over in Tuscan Lakes, all over. So I'd be very curious to find out what's actually in the water.
We should test Tuscan Lakes versus Hidden Lakes and
right
every lakes and see who has the best water,
right,
or the worst water, depending how you look at it.
True. So this morning, I'll talk about it a little bit, but I want to bring up the 4 types of fertilizer or nitrogen sources. Okay, you got your quick release nitrogens, nitrate and ammoniacal nitrogen. It's going to be more readily absorbed by plants. Then you got slow release, controlled release, and coated. So, or no. Controlled release and stabilized is what they are. And in the homework I've done, I find that for a synthetic fertilizer, I really want to use something that's along the lines of a slow release fertilizer. It's usually stuff like urea methylene, or even what's called urea formaldehyde. Sounds gross.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
A little bit.
Yeah, but the cool thing is it's a type of nitrogen that is usually used for fertilizing trees because it has a super slow release rate. So basically, slow release with that urea methylene and urea formaldehyde has much longer carbon chains, right? So it requires microbial activity to break it apart and for it to be utilized for the plant. Now, you got controlled release, which is sulfur coated and polymer coated, and water will go through kind of like osmosis, right? And into the coated material and push the nitrogen out at a predictable rate is what they say, right? And that stuff can work pretty good. Sulfur coated, actually, from what I'm learning in our area, can be beneficial because if we got a lot of clay soil, it's usually more alkaline. That the sulfur coating is going to help drop the pH a little bit. Now, I do want to say, because people ask about soil testing and pH and all that kind of stuff, I still ain't going to recommend for anybody to go out there and do specifically a sulfur treatment or a lime treatment or any of that, because generally they jack stuff up. So, look, if you're worried about your pH and things like that, buffer it with some humates, some humic acid, spray a little bit of seaweed on there, because if you set the plants up for success, right, they actually do a good job at adjusting their pH on their own in the area, in the soil, in the root zone. Excuse me. So, and then you have what do you call it? Stabilized nitrogen. Now, that is bonded with inhibitors that slow it down and like slow down an enzyme function that happens in the root zone. So again, you get like a predictable release rate. And this kind of stuff is important because, you know, if you want to give something a jump start, you can, but always, you know, use less, right? Because I know a bunch of people are going to go out there. It's almost March. We're rolling into spring quick.
It's time.
Yeah. People are going to use various things, right? So, you know, I'm always want to encourage you to use bioinoculants, biostimulants, stuff to truly feed the soil. But I know a lot of people out there are going to hit up Home Depot, right, and Lowe's, and go get what's on the shelf. So just a little tip, okay, because you're going to do it. I know it's going to happen. Use like half of the recommended rate. And because you're going to be using half, if you do, you'll actually more likely get a better response because then it's like a stimulant. You're not overdoing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a couple shots of espresso, great. 10, probably all jittery.
Yeah.
I didn't need all that.
Yeah.
You know?
So you recommend, if you're getting something from a big box store, which you probably wouldn't recommend in the first place, but if you are going to, don't use what it tells you to do. Cut it in half, start there, and see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you'll get a much better response.
Mm-hmm.
And don't do it right before a heavy rain, okay?
Yeah.
And I promise you, if y'all look on the package, it even says it.
Generally, it says to water it in, right?
Yeah.
And that means just like to water it in. And I guess their mindset is, if I do it before it rains, I don't have to water it in. But that creates the runoff into our creeks and streams and lakes and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And plus, if it rains super duper hard, like, then it's leaching out. It's getting washed out.
Washes it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you know, no matter what you bought, you want it to work for you. You paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just water it in so you get the maximum effectiveness of what you bought. Because, you know, it may say the weather's 40% or whatever. We know how that goes. We can get a freaking washout quick, right? So, yeah, just a little tip. Read the directions and cut that stuff back to half if you're going to buy stuff from the big box store.
Yeah.
Okay?
But then after you cut it to half, I mean, you could use the rest of it further down the road, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you could use it, say, in a few weeks, month, whenever, or in some of these videos and stuff, if you look up feeding lawns on YouTube, they call it spoon feeding a lawn. So you can give it like a little bit of something often, right? And that'll encourage a better response rate than like, boom, a super heavy application. Now, on the flip side, okay, you're going to call me, right? Hey, AJ, I want you to throw some hippie juice down on the lawn. I want you to fertilize it. I will say with the stuff that I'm using, I'll use a lot, okay? But it is mostly like biostimulants and you know, essentially like soil activators, things like that.
Here's a good comment. Says it's from Joe Hernandez. He says, spoon feed the lawn. I like that. And that, I mean, that's just like a visual. It's like, okay, yeah. You think of a baby, you're not going to give a baby like all the food. You want to spoon feed the baby so that way it can take it and actually use the food and process it, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good one. And then here's another question actually that came in from Conrad. Good morning, Conrad. And Conrad did comment earlier and said, it's early. We're on early, a little bit on earlier than normal.
Yeah.
I like it.
Me too. I really do.
So his question is, and I'm hoping I'm saying this right, is dethatching worth it? When would be a good time to mow for the first time this year? Should you bag it or mulch it?
All great questions. So I think dethatching can definitely have its purpose. I would say the first cut of the season, if you're going to dethatch it, honestly, St. Augustine just needs a really good raking. It's a little bit of labor. Honestly, it's a pain in the butt. But, you know, mow it that first time at, say, 2 inches, and it's the only time I'm going to tell you to do this, okay? And it just makes it way easier to rake out dead stuff. Yeah, it does help tremendously. And I noticed this last year, like after the freeze, right? Had some of my customers asking, "Hey Jay, what do I do? Should I rake out the dead grass?" and so on and so forth. I'll say this: everyone who raked out the dead grass, their lawn came back way faster, stronger than everyone who didn't. So I would highly encourage a good raking on your St. Augustine. Mow it short just one time, just so it's easier to rake it, bag it, and then lift that mower right back up.
Yeah, because usually you say leave it how long? A couple inches high?
4.
4 inches high.
Yeah. 4 inches high. Grass is like a hippie.
So what is dethatching?
Excuse me. Dethatching is essentially just taking off the top layer, and because over a year or a couple years over time, you get a layer of that dead material, and it will essentially kind of create a barrier from the top to your soil, so you don't get as much watering. It can encourage stuff like chinch bugs, which is miserable, right? So occasionally it's good to take off that extra layer of dead stuff that's not breaking down fast enough. So basically, like, your lawn can breathe better and absorb water better. So if you're looking at stuff, right, look for products that have slow release nitrogen. And the huge reason why is because if you put that stuff down, it's more stable. It's going to stay in your lawn, stay in your soil. It's not going to leach out or, turn into gas from volatilization, right? Which a lot of heavy synthetic nitrogen products can do. But because it's so microbially dependent, it's like when we get 3 or 4 warm days lately, like, we've hit like 75, 80 degrees a few days. I've even having customers like, "Dude, it was warm for 3 days and I swear my grass turned green." I'm like, yeah, because it's like those microbes are warming up. Your soil's warming up. Now it's eating that food and giving it to the grass, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. But also, if you're out there wanting to get your lawn all nice, I'm still going to say, if, when in doubt, spray the stuff with molasses. People still think I'm crazy. I don't care. Molasses isn't like everything I do. And that'll help eat up some thatch too. And something we're going to be utilizing a little bit more of this year is like amino acids and calcium. Calcium helps with plant cell structure big time. The more calcium that a plant is uptaking, it makes it more hardy for cold and hot conditions, right? And amino acids and calcium uptake help decrease your chance of like bad fungus issues. So, and amino acids are basically proteins which get absorbed by plants, turned into nitrogen, and they can absorb it more efficiently. So we're going to definitely be utilizing a lot of that this year too. And a lot of liquid urea methylene.
What is that?
The urea methylene? That's slow release nitrogen.
So so what are some signs? You'd mentioned that if you look for something, look for slow release nitrogen. So that's just going to be on the bag, or is there any other like hidden ways they say that, or is it something they brag about, or something that's not really that popularized, the slow release part?
So there's different forms. Like I said, there's those polymer coated and controlled release. So basically, a lot of times, a bag will say that, like, say it's a 28-310, right? It's going to say 14% of that is slow release by whatever form that it is, whether it's the stabilized, the polymer coated, or the slow release. And then it'll say, like, slow release. Some of them will say, like, what it is, right? So I forget the names, some of those names that are bonded with the nitrogen to make it stabilized. I haven't practiced saying them yet.
Yeah.
Like, I've just barely figured out, nailed down the urea methylene part. But it'll say what the kind of nitrogen source is. So it'll say 50% the ammoniacal nitrogen, and then 50% another type of nitrogen source. Also, if you look for stuff, a good sign too is when it says water insoluble. So it's not going away real quick. So yeah, there's a few different things to look for in a bag for sure. And as always, stay away from the weed and feed, people. Okay? If it says 3-in-1, you better run. All right? Because that stuff is not that advanced. It's advanced at killing your lawn. Yeah.
How did they get away with selling it?
Dude, I'm always curious to know why we even care about weeds. Right? They're plants.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, but marketing is really good. And those products out there, they're not technically a fertilizer first. First, they are an herbicide, and they are a pesticide, right? And then secondary, they're a fertilizer. It just, I don't encourage the use of those things. I may be kind of learning, and I almost feel a little bit like a sellout, a little bit, for like talking more about different sources of nitrogen and using chemical nitrogen sources. Like, we still want to support soil biology all day, everyone, okay? If you're using your chemical fertilizers, add a bioinoculant and you will achieve greater success. Facts. But I'm still not going to say, hey, we're going to come out and kill your clover. Not happening. So, plus, for those who don't know, clover adds nitrogen to your soil. It's like a free way to feed your lawn.
Mm-hmm. And that's just with mowing, just going over it?
Yeah. And that stuff dies off when it heats up anyway. A lot of stuff is going to die off when it heats up. Poa annua dies off when it heats up. Chickweed dies off real good when it heats up. This stuff that's looks kind of like a strawberry. Like, it looks real prominent when it cools down and in the off season. But once we get back into like the regular growing season, St. Augustine grows right over it for the most part.
Yeah.
So sometimes let's say, we get a little quick to jump the gun on my grass doesn't look good, or I want to need to kill this and that and the other. I'm like, no, hold on. Let's see what happens as we move into the season and just feed it right and bioinoculate it.
Mm-hmm.
The more species of microbes we can throw down, the better. For sure. What?
I don't know. It's just funny. I love listening to you talk about this stuff because half of it, like the language, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, like I'm thinking like bioinoculate. I know we've talked about this stuff before, but I'm just like, man, I need to like just to get a better grasp.
So here's something that's pretty nifty is when you think bioinoculant, just think probiotic for your lawn.
Okay.
Right? It's like the same thing. Even some of the stuff that you can take and get from the store for like probiotics and bacteria for your gut are literally some of the same things we put in soil.
Okay.
Like Bacillus subtilis. All right, it helps break down stuff in the soil. It helps with your gut. Like, so sometimes I've tried this stuff. Mostly I'm pretty healthy. Nothing bad happened. At least not yet, okay?
So trying to bioinoculate your body?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, heck, it's like a very, very extensive probiotic. Like one of the products I started using, on the label it only says like 5 different things in there. But I was given the sheet by a rep, and it has like over 2,000 species of microbes. So that's something else. Like when you're bioinoculating anything, the more diversity you can have biologically, the better off you are, right? It's because they do so many jobs and functions and things in the soil for helping, break down organic material to release nutrients. What does it say? I was reading like Teeming with Nutrients. I like to flip through that book on and off. Always, it's always on the shelf as a reference, right? Along with Teeming with Microbes. Okay, I know I've mentioned it before. It's always a great book to have around for reference to just understand a little bit about soil. So a lot of minerals and nutrients, they're only going to be released through microbial activity. Like you can add nitrogen and certain things and the plant will absorb it, but all the trace elements and micronutrients absolutely need biological activity for them to be utilized most efficiently in the plant, right? So as I've kind of learned, and I want to give people the best results, which has been challenging last few years, I can take like a nasty lawn and get it to come back pretty good, right? But now the what would I say, like the next hurdle has been taking a decent lawn and making it stand out, right? Want that line of domination. Look at my green, thick, healthy grass, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where like having these other source of macronutrients, essentially like nitrogen, is what I needed to beef it up.
You know what I'm hearing is taking like the yard of the month and making it yard of the year. You know, that good grass, good yard, healthy, and then just making it that much better.
Yeah.
All around.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So along with that, right? I've been working with a gentleman named Harrison. He owns BLT Landscapes. They do a great job with landscaping, and we've brought in better soil. And over the course of this year, we're going to be continuing to work together to bring in a few different other options in soil and compost, because we want to kind of like meet people in the middle of definitely making available a much better quality product, but that's a little more price friendly, right? Because there's some other places around that carry some good materials, but gosh dang, they're pricey, and other places it's cheap, but that's just it.
Yeah.
It's cheap, and so the soil we've been using the last couple weeks we got from the ground up, and it's just their bed mix, but it has compost in it. It's like angular sand, different components, lots of organic matter. Oh, and it spreads like a dream. So we'll be definitely doing a lot with that too.
I had a friend that asked me, do you know where to get some dirt? This was actually yesterday. And I said, what kind of dirt are you looking for? What do you know? This, and I got actually AJ coming in tomorrow, and he'll know all of this stuff. And it was just fill dirt. And I was like, no, I have no idea where to get fill dirt. But if you need some like good quality compost or good quality soil, then AJ's your guy.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So, I try a lot of different stuff. Definitely there's some tools in the bag that will always stay there. And there's some where it's like, pulling through things like, oh, I don't need this wrench anymore, but I'm going to replace it with this one. So anyway, it was like the last week of December. I bought the most expensive bag of soil I've ever bought in my life. Okay.
Like a lot more expensive, or just like, hey, it's like $5-10?
Let's put it this way. Okay. And I'm just going to be, real with y'all. This is what it is. Like a bag of Nature's Way leaf mold compost. It's really good, high quality stuff. You get the fine screened, it spreads great, smells great, works great, so on and so forth, okay? Well, I bought this stuff that's called carbonized PN by Miramichi Green. All right, a bag of leaf mold compost is like $14 a bag, okay? And even then, people might say that's kind of pricey, but the quality is like phenomenal, right? Well, this carbonized PN cost me wholesale $27 a bag, and it covers about 25 square feet, okay? And some of y'all out there, if you hear this, you're probably thinking, who the heck is top dressing their lawn with that stuff? Like, well, we're not trying to quite do that. If you do want it, hey, it's superior, okay? Like everywhere where I put this bag and I tried to spread it out in this lawn is like far as I could make it go, right? And we brought 6 bags to this house. Every single place that I dropped and spread a bag is like clearly different than everywhere else. All right, it's made from, has a little bit of biochar, compost, processed pig manure. I mean, it is definitely changing some soil structure.
Yeah, so if you need... Like if there's a part of the lawn that needs extra love and care, you'd recommend like, hey, let's put this on this spot and see what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Because, I mean, I was kind of disappointed when I bought it and used it and spread it, All right, I'm trying to give people, my customers, the best bang for their buck too, you know? But after what I saw, I was like, okay, you know, maybe it didn't go nearly as far as we wanted, but where it did go, the impact was day and night for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
Oh, yeah. And hopefully here soon, you know, I know you hear me, Harrison. We're going to be trying to bring in like a good quality screened compost, because we can put that down for a better price, like per cubic yard, than the carbonized PN. Don't get me wrong, it's great stuff, right? But I'm not trying to top dress whole lawns with it.
You know,
unless someone really wanted it.
I saw the other day, it was one of the places that you were talking about. I don't know if it was BLT Landscapes, if they have a yard, or there's somebody else that has a yard where there was like dirt and soil. What's the name of the place where you got the soil from?
So BLT Landscapes is carrying this soil from the ground up, right?
Okay.
I mean, there's lots of yards around with soil.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was one that we were just talking about the name. I don't know if it's 1266 or it turns into.
So he is like on the corner. He's on 1266.
Okay, that's what I saw. I saw it.
But there's only one pile, and on the same 1266, there's Living Earth.
Yeah, Living Earth's on the left. If I'm heading north towards 646 right there, yeah, Living Earth is on the left, and I guess it is BLT Landscapes on the right, a little bit further back.
Yeah, like right across the street from the school.
Yes,
on that corner.
Yeah, that's where I saw him, and I was like, and I wasn't sure if it was BLT Landscapes. Thinking back on when that was, so okay, it was cool to see.
Yeah, so man,
there's taco trucks all around there.
Oh, dude. You know, huh?
Yeah,
they're good too.
There's taco trucks all up and down 1266, even that, left and right.
That Shell gas station
everywhere
has pretty good tacos, and their corn tortillas are legit.
Yeah,
at the Shell, dude. If y'all haven't tried that stuff, man, go hit. Anyone who says gas station tacos are not good, y'all are from another state.
Yeah.
Or at least another area, because around our area, gas station tacos are dope.
Yeah, get you some tacos from the gas station. You can go across the street, get a little bit of soil, and change your life, change your lawn.
Yeah. And it's something like, you know, I can help people with it, but they're definitely working on trying to provide it. So, like, right now, this the bed mix, it's $59 a yard. And say, like, if you order 2 or more yards, you know, we could deliver it to you for a small delivery fee as well. So if you're, like, wanting to do it yourself, but say you don't have the means to, like, move the material, hit up BLT Landscapes and Hippie Fertilizing.
Make it happen.
Because we can help you out.
Hey, this is another comment from Conrad. This is pretty interesting. I didn't hear about this. He said there was a local mulch yard that caught on fire yesterday. They brought in excavators to spread all that soil around and to get the fire put out. Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but it is actually pretty common.
Yeah.
It's happened over here at Living Earth a bunch.
But why would there be what catches fire?
So all that material, right, bacteria is like doing stuff to it that heats it up, right? So if you have your piles too big, the piles by themselves can catch on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, you want to regulate the temperature, and it makes sense because, like, the earth and the temperature, and that's what creates the, I guess, ideal conditions, right? That's why, you know, Conrad's grass didn't freeze or whatever, right? So I guess it makes sense. The more you have, the more it would potentially heat up.
Yeah. Yeah, they can get, like, well over 200 degrees. You could cook a bird in them. I don't know if it'd be any good. Probably not.
Better than the fish in the lakes. The fish in the local lakes, all right.
Maybe. Yeah. And composting, it's such a science and such a craft, right? Anyone can say, "Oh, I got compost." Like, no. You got a pile of junk. Okay? I know it sounds rough. But composting, yes, does require for everything to reach a certain temperature. So you're killing off weed seeds, you're killing off pathogens and stuff like that. And it requires a lot of water. Like, these microbes need a lot of water, and it helps break down the cellulose and the lignins and stuff, and helps things become more available in a healthy way. So, like, it's another thing we're going to be working on here soon, is bringing in a higher quality mulch. And a lot of people use dyed mulches.
Yeah.
And I know it's popular. It looks good. Please, for the love of trees, quit doing a mulch volcano. Okay. If y'all haven't seen it, I'll be posting some pictures, and I've done some live videos here recently about cleaning up around those mulch volcanoes and kind of helping reduce root girdling on trees. Right. So what I was getting at is we're going to be bringing in like a better aged mulch. So that way, like if you get fresh, brand new hardwood mulch, it's really robbing a lot of nutrients and nitrogen from the soil because it's not broken down enough, right? You want this stuff to be broken down and basically kind of composted, but it doesn't have to go for as long as, say, like a true compost, right? So, yeah, reduce the mulch volcanoes, people. All they are is great for ant beds, and I know none of y'all like ants, right? So, like, mulch beds or ants.
Yeah.
We can take them both down.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah.
In one swoop of taking out the mulch volcanoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And use a higher quality mulch. Or if it's really rough and your plants are really hurting for the first time, it's going to be more expensive. But if you, instead of using mulch, you used a compost, it would really, really enrich your soil. So it'd be worth it just for that.
Yeah. You know, what other things are people doing just because that's what they are trained or programmed to do, like adding mulch volcanoes around trees, and it's really just hurting their yard, hurting the environment?
Well, and like it's not promoting healthy growth of their trees, right? You go in all these new neighborhoods and you see these trees, they weren't really put in that well in the first place. Excuse me. And then we pack all this stuff on it. And you ever pull apart the mulch and it's just like one caked together piece, right? With all that fungus trying to break it down. What's like an umbrella? Like, oh, we got a lot of rain. Go peel back that mulch. I bet you it was dry. It's not breathing. Man, I've seen so many plants and trees that just do a little bit of stuff and get a little ambitious out there on the lawn sometimes. I'm like, oh, I hate this. So I'll start cleaning around people's trees randomly.
Yeah.
You know, and then
they're like, hey, Jay, that's not even what you're supposed to be doing out there. We're just getting the extra care, right?
Yeah. Hey, man, I really try and give my customers like the very most, you know?
Right.
It's what I do. It's what I love, right? Like, I want to give you the very best. There's times I'm out there, I'll keep a rake in my truck sometimes, and I'm like raking off lawns. And, you know, fortunately, my customers are super, super cool. And I'm like, hey, I left you a big old pile of leaves. I just wanted it off your lawn, but I don't have a way to like pick it up. So could y'all pick that up, please? Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, hey, Jay, you made a mess for me, but okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go around, start digging in the lawn. I think, I don't know if I ever brought it in, but I got this thing that's called a Pro Plugger. Pulls out cores like a freaking can, right? And so it's still been too cold, but there's definitely been a lot of areas where I'll take that Pro Plugger, pull apart the soil, throw a little bit of fertilizer in the hole, juice it down real good, and we're waiting to see like if it has significant positive effects. Because if it does, you know, I talked before about like offering core aeration, right? And I'm like, I just want to know, does it really work? Is it really worth it? Because this, like the lawn restoration process where we bring in soil, fertilizer, and then spray it down like a 3-step deal, boom, it works so good and there's no core aeration involved, right? But I got this one lawn over in Marbella where I took a huge section of it and pulled cores with that Pro Plugger and then filled it in with soil and fertilizer and juiced it down and all that good stuff. And you can definitely tell where all them holes are at, for sure. But so far, I haven't seen any significant difference in that area versus the entire lawn. Right? The entire lawn improved with what we did, and that didn't improve anymore, you know? So, like, I'm not trying to charge people for work that I don't think is worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's interesting. I mean, you do experiments like that pretty often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I didn't mess with, like, core aeration for a while, but it is, it's like a call that's pretty predominant. Hey, do you do core aeration? No. And then sometimes people literally, I'm like, no, but we do X, Y, and Z, and it works great on lawns. And people are like, well, I don't care. I just wanted core aeration. Like, okay, hey, man, I might just start offering it.
Yeah.
Because the people who will turn us away just because I say I don't do it, you know? I'm like, what we do works. You don't need the core aeration, but if you have to have it,
You can do it.
maybe I can make it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I guess people just want the option, or they hear a neighbor did something, or I saw it advertised on TV, and that's just, I guess, that marketing, or what they're programmed, or what they think works.
Right.
Right.
And, I'm here to try and tell you, like, hey, we didn't even have to work that hard to make this work, y'all. Now, at the same gentleman's house where I did the pro plugger all over, he has like a handheld deal to poke holes in the lawn. So when I went back to go check on the work, now the amazing thing is we did this like in the middle of January, right? And we've started just now getting for the last month or so getting these cold snaps and stuff. We really didn't even get a cold snap much. October, November, December, it's freaking hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was out top dressing my lawn the day before Christmas in shorts,
Right.
But then we get all these cold snaps. I did this work for this gentleman over here, and it was freezing that day. Thank God I had some helpers. It was just nasty. Anyway, you can so tell, even during the off season, everyone else's lawn is yellow and his is like green. It's such a world of difference. But I was told one time on a video or a comment on one of my old YouTube videos, someone said the best thing to do is get what's called a billy goat, like core aeration machine, because that brand, instead of having the cores that come out, they have tines that are just solid tines to where you can poke holes. And that, he said he had a lawn business, and he said he got better results with making those holes to open it up versus pulling the cores. And it'd be a lot less messy. So that is I kind of want to go buy myself one of those little manual things like that guy had and go use it on a bunch of different lawns and, again, see if it works. Because, we're talking about throwing down $4,000 for a piece of equipment, right? And, do I really need it? Do I want it? Is it going to be that useful?
Is it going to work?
Yeah.
Right.
Because I've tried a lot of stuff over the years. Some of it works great. Some of it was not worth it, And so, yeah, I'm going to, go do it manually a bunch first. And then, as we see some significant difference, I'm calling up Lansdowne Moody or something and say, hey, go get me this billy goat, and I want these solid tines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is the same, poking a hole, you fill in, the good stuff, some nice soil or hippie juice and all of the other stuff, and then kind of fill it up with that and let it just kind of dispense into the soil.
Right.
Yeah.
Big time. And then also, if you're creating those holes, if we do get a nice rain, the water's penetrating deeper. You're getting oxygen down deeper into the soil, which is absolutely necessary for all those microbes in your plants and your roots and everything. So, if I just want to see it work.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
But definitely, we've gotten some huge increase in results already. So,
can you remind everybody about the nitrogen? I guess there's the 4 different types. What kind should they be looking for if they're going to buy something from a box store? What should they get?
I highly recommend looking for something that has a urea methylene in it for the slow release. It's stable, it works, it is dependent on microbial activity and temperature, so if you start throwing it down now, every time that we get a warm day, you're going to see a little bit of response from that. If you're using other synthetic nitrogens, just scale it back a little bit. You're trying to stimulate the lawn and give it just a little push, right? And you can always put on more, but you can't take it off, right? So, if you were using a whole bag, use a half a bag. And I almost bet you're going to see a better response. Look for stuff that is, or even stabilized nitrogens. Next time I'll make sure to have these names better for this stabilized stuff, right? And they got lots of good products on the market. One that I'm really interested to try myself, I just haven't went and bought it yet, is stuff by Lebanon Turf. All right, they have this Mesa technology, which is basically another form of urea methylene to slow it down. I'm super curious to see the kind of response with that. But lately I've been using another product for the last few months. I don't want to say what it is.
It's a secret.
It is. However, since I've started putting that on lawns and then changing up a liquid that I was using that has I think it's a 2100 with 60% slow release nitrogen and brewer's yeast and yucca extract and molasses and corn syrup, dude, it's been a game changer. So, yeah. Go to hippiefertilizing.com and order some Hippie Juice 2.0 application.
I guess remind people, the services that you offer, and then they can go to your website. But what's the best way to get in contact with you as well?
My number, 832-277-3710. Website, hippiefertilizing.com. The easiest way, people look for estimates and stuff like that. I'm still kind of a one-man show. So we're always going to recommend to start with that Hippie Juice application. It's $149, and when I do that, I'm also going to assess the lawn and say, hey, look, we could either just keep feeding it on a bi-monthly basis, or you might want a lawn top dressing. That is something that we excel at. That's what we do a ton of, is lawn top dressings for sure. So if you want a really good quality top dressing, Hippie Fertilizing is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also we've been adding to our services of removing those mulch volcanoes for customers and helping to improve the health of their trees. Right? So feeding the tree, cleaning them up, cleaning up around the roots, because I'm starting to see my lawns and I'm thinking, I'm getting this grass looking really good, but these trees look like they're neglected.
Yeah.
And they just need that extra effort to really help them pop.
Awesome.
So,
I love it. Is there anything else you want to share today, AJ?
If y'all haven't, go like my page, okay? Share, follow. I very much appreciate it. And then also look up BLT Landscapes. All right, we're going to be working together, spreading soil, doing landscapes, adding good mulch, doing everything we can to support soil biology and our lawn and landscapes.
Thank you for hanging out today, AJ. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gardy.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5